everyone, and welcome to the Superhero Rewind Commentary Project. Tis I, Captain Logan, and joining me, as always, is my sidekick, Austin the Day Ghost. How you doing, Austin?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for doing more of these. It is time for another double feature, and we're going to split these into two different streams as we have been doing, but we're going to start tonight with Spawn, and we're going to finish up with Mystery Men. And Austin, I don't want to, when we do these double features, especially since they're two different videos, as I've said before, I don't want to spend the whole time just comparing these things, but right at the start, can you think of a couple of things that these movies might have in common? Can you think of good thematic reasons that we would put these together? I don't mean story thematic. I just mean, you know, anything these movies have in common.
Anything these movies have in common. No.
Okay, I was just giving you an opportunity to contribute. Well,
I feel like Justin Timberlake in the Barry Gibb talk show SNL skits. I got nothing.
I just put him on the spot. Well, we didn't actually pick these together because of either of the things I'm about to mention, but I think actually doing both of these at the same time was Austin's idea. Or did you say let's go ahead and do Spawn, and then somehow I got Mystery Men in there? I can't. Oh, it was because Mystery Men was requested.
Men. Yeah, you said we're going to do Mystery Men, and you were like, I need to find something else to do so we can do two.
We had to pair it with something.
Yeah, and I said, what about Spawn? Because it's Halloween-y, which was a colossal mistake.
Yeah, well, you know what? Let's get it out of the way. It had to be done, and it's the right year to do it because this is the 10th anniversary of Spawn year, and I haven't done nearly enough for that this year. Earlier in the year, I was doing not Spawn year, and I didn't end up getting to a whole year of that, but I reviewed like 69 single-issue comics every day to celebrate
and one issue of
Spawn year.
Man-Thing. So it was a win in my book.
I did get an issue of Man-Thing in there, that's true. And there's some other Spawn year related things that are going to happen eventually, particularly the Superhero Rewind movie that I've been writing. It is directly related to the events of Spawn year. That's all I'll say about that. But anyway, when you said Spawn, I was like, no, this is the year to do that. Let's go ahead and get that knocked out. And Spawn year ended on Halloween, on in October, so it's kind of a cool time to do it. But no, the big things that I thought of when we just happen to be doing these together is both of them, of course, are late 90s movies that are based on independent comics properties. And because Spawn, of course, is based on an Image book, and Mystery Men is very insanely loosely based on a Dark Horse thing. It was pitched by the guy who created Flaming Carrot, and Flaming Carrot had his Mystery Men, and that's where the title comes from. And I don't know if any of these characters were in those books and had anything to do with Flaming Carrot, because I don't know anything about Flaming Carrot. But when you go and look at this on Wiki, it says based on Flaming Carrot, and I was like, how? What is that about? But I had noticed in the credits at the beginning, it was like based on characters from Dark Horse Comics, and I was like, Mystery Men was a Dark Horse book? Okay, that's weird. And then I went and looked into it, and it wasn't, but there was a thing called Flaming Carrot. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
So I saw your community post and went, wait a minute, this was a comic?
Yeah.
So then I looked it up.
Sort of.
The entire movie I was waiting for some sort of Flaming Carrot joke, and it never happened.
The other things, yeah, and this is all like, again, not like story connection stuff, but just production things. The other big thing, weirdly, that these have in common is they both have kind of weird mask connections. Because Spawn was made by special effects people that worked on the mask, and Mystery Men is based on a Dark Horse comic, just like The Mask is. So there's another weird connection.
Oh, okay, that is weird.
So there you go. I put them together.
You found some sort of weird niche these can both fit into.
And then in a lot of ways, we'll find that they're like very, very opposite. You know, one's a comedy, one's ostensibly a horror thing. One is too short, one is too long.
One is terrible.
One is very thinly characterized, and the other, so much emphasis is put on. I mean, I don't want to say like real deep characterization in the case of Mystery Men, but it's so concerned with making sure that everybody gets screen time and that we know their motivations and they get fun, quirky, comedic stuff to do, that the plot is razor thin.
Oh, I have one connection.
Yeah.
Spawn came out in 1997, and Mystery Men is really looking at Schumacher Batman, which ends
true.
in 97.
It sure is, yeah.
They're both I'm from 97, so I'm connected to both of them.
Yeah, they're both super 90s in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so those are the connections that I wanted to mention real quick, briefly, before we get into this. Austin, what is your background with Spawn before we get started? Because everybody knows mine. I've talked about this movie ad nauseum, and obviously I spent 2 years of my life talking about Spawn. This is going to be very, very redundant for me, so I'm going to make sure and let Austin do as much talking as he wants to as we watch this. But I don't know how much new I'm going to have to bring to the table. But yeah, what is your background with this?
So my one uncle was like, he really loved Spawn. Like, he grew up in that period, in the 90s, where this was all the rage. And he introduced it to me when I was maybe like 10, 11. And I was like, oh, well, Spawn is, I guess, the coolest thing ever, because that's what I've been told. And then I see the movie, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that was pretty good. Well, actually, I should say even before then, before I even knew what Spawn was, I was flipping channels, and the movie was on. And it's the part where he's climbing up the wall. And I was like, oh, they made a Venom movie? What? Oh, he's got like a red cape? Like, what is happening? I want to watch this, and then flip the channel.
Yeah, well, you're not that far off. Like, sort of.
Yeah, sort of. Yes, then I saw the movie, and I went, okay, Spawn's cool. And then I looked up Spawn on YouTube, and that's why I found both Geek Evolution and Eric's channel back in the day.
Oh, that's so weird that you found us through Spawn.
Yeah. Yeah, you specifically, it was through the rewind of the movie. That was like the newest was still one. Up,
so not even Spawn year. We weren't to that yet, probably.
Oh, no. This was like 2009. And then Eric was through his review of the show, I think. It was either the show or the movie, or maybe both. And then when you did Spawn Year, I tried to read all the comics with you, and got like 20 issues in and realized I couldn't afford it. So.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you realized it was awful and you couldn't keep doing it, because I heard some of that. You wouldn't have been the only person that had that story.
Yeah, no, I'm sure if I had kept reading, I would have hit that point. But it was early enough that it was more so a money thing.
So it sounds like watching it again now in preparation for this, you had a very different experience with it.
Yes, because I came into this like, oh, the movie's pretty good, which was not my experience watching it. This movie's awful.
Yeah, it's not great, and we'll go ahead and start watching it here in a second. The initial rewind I did on it, I was real down on it, and back at that time, a lot of it was because I thought the comics were wonderful because I didn't read far enough in, and it had been a long time since I'd read them, and I didn't like that it didn't stick close enough to the source material and left a lot of, what I thought was deep and interesting characterization out, and mythology and stuff, which I'll stick by a little bit. And then when I watched it, everything is about perspective, right? When I watched it while I was doing Spawn Year, I had a much better watch with it because it wasn't wasting my time.
Mm-hmm. And we streamline it. We streamline everything in a way that I think is a little better, but it's also worse in other ways.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think ultimately this movie is like the ultimate, I don't know, just tribute to 90s image, because it looks terrible. It's like nonsensical, and the characters suck, and the story sucks. And it's just 90s image.
Yeah, it's style over substance, but is the style any good either?
Mm-hmm. And because I'm sure people will be typing now, yes, Spawn is an exception in terms of art, 90s image, but Still, this
Yeah.
movie. This is the young bloods of superhero comic book movies.
But where I was going with that is, I guess I'm jumping back and forth as I look at this every few years to close to a decade, because coming back to it after a lot of years away from Spawn, yeah, it's rough, to say the least. That's an understatement.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? If you want to watch it with us, we encourage you to do that. Get out your DVD, Blu-ray, however you want to watch it. It's not streaming anywhere right now where you wouldn't have to rent it. Get it to timestamp 0. Get ready to press play. When I say now, you should be seeing a company logo right at the start. What is this? New Line. A New Line logo.
Yep.
And let me get the clock up so that everybody can follow with us if they need to sync up later. Thanks for joining us live. We sure appreciate it. Thanks for watching this after the fact as well. Teddy put in a $10 super chat. I'll go ahead and read this real quick. He says, here's the real connection. They're both two sides of the same 90s coin. And yeah, we did kind of talk about that.
Very true.
But yeah, that's absolutely the case. And I would say, like, Spawn is dated in a, like, kind of difficult to go back to sort of way. And Mystery Men, it's a little bit more charming about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you agree with that, but it's more of like a snapshot in time where, like, it's fun to go back to this period as opposed to, you know, you look at Spawn and you're like, oh, I kind of wish we could redo that. And it's probably going to happen now. We'll see what that looks like.
I mean, I'm sure it'll be better than this one.
It's hard to imagine how it wouldn't be. It will at least probably be more straightforward in a... Well, I say straightforward. I mean, the movie is more straightforward to the comics, don't get me wrong, because it isn't getting, you know, nowhere every issue, and it doesn't have a character that just sits in an alley and waits for stuff to come to him. But it probably won't be as, you know, choppy and cut up, and it'll probably look more like a story, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
That's my hope.
No, this movie captures the Todd McFarland writing style of writing like every 2 pages, and then you finish that, you finish all the artwork, and then you do the next 2 pages, and then you finish all that, and you do the next 2 pages.
Yeah,
That's
sort of. I mean,
edited.
it's also the antithesis to his writing in that nobody but one character ever says anything. You know what I mean? Like he'll have characters go on for pages and pages and not really say anything. You're like, Clown has 85% of the dialogue.
Yeah, no, you're right about that.
I got a couple other super chats. I'll go ahead and read them right after we get started here. Everybody get ready to press play when I say now, and I'm just about to do it. Everybody please press play right now. I'll go ahead and read these just real quick as we get into this. Chewbacca's Lover, $5 super chat. Spielberg wanted to make a Youngbloods movie for some reason. I didn't know that. Brett Ratner was being considered for it. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
I mean, Brett Ratner probably would have fit that, but
yeah,
Spielberg wanting to make it is weird.
It probably would not have made anything like as much at the box office as this did. I mean, Spawn really was that huge, and regardless of the terrible reviews with this, it still, you know, doubled its money.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom put in a $2 super chat and said, "Boo, the clock should be the Spawn year clock." Well, I mean, I'm not a programmer. I don't really know how to do that. Yeah, that would have been cool, I guess. It also would have been nice if the Spawn clock was in the movie, which I've talked about before. But if you're going to actually bring up that his powers will run out at some point and then he'll die again, whatever that means, you gotta visualize that somehow. I mean, it's preposterous. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's preposterous though when we get there and Cagliostro goes, okay, Spawn, don't be careful. Don't use your powers too much because if you eliminate them, you know, you'll die. And do you remember what Spawn's response to that is, Austin? He says, "I won't be needing these," and he just takes his guns off. What kind of sense does that make? That's why you need your guns.
I didn't remember there was any reference to that. I thought it was just he just has superpowers. So when we got to that line, I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Because I understand cutting it because it's hard to, you know, display visually without doing the clock, and I could understand not wanting to do it because even in the comics, it's like a dumb gimmick.
It's only a dumb gimmick because it never went anywhere and McFarland didn't have a plan for it. It could have been cool.
And there was no rules behind it.
That's
like,
what
it
I'm
always
saying.
felt arbitrary.
But that's this universe. There are no rules, but we pretend like there are, and then we just constantly. I'm having PTSD right now from Spawn here. We just constantly retcon the rules and the history and things that just happened last issue, and sometimes even in letters pages. That happened with Redeemer.
Oh, yeah. No, very true.
It's all coming back to me here.
So Al Simmons just assassinated the Iron Sheik.
Well, look, it's his job, okay? Like, he's not paid to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
He just does what he's told to. Okay,
when he uses the Jericho missile to kill the Iron Sheik.
That's true. Okay, Austin, I'm going to spend this whole time just asking you questions you can't answer. Are you ready?
Yeah, okay.
Why is Cagliostro there?
Because he was trying to catch his plane.
So is Cagliostro clairvoyant?
I don't know. I don't really understand what Cagliostro is in this movie.
Well,
and it's been so long since I've read the comics, I don't remember what he's like in that either.
Yeah, well, he's played very heroic in this, where he, like in the comics, used to be a Spawn, and he somehow, with no explanation, broke away from Hell and is able to, for some reason, continue to use his powers, and they can't do anything to him. But in the comics, he will. I mean, I don't think McFarland had thought of this yet, so that's why there's no hint of it whatsoever here. But he'll turn out to kind of have his own sinister agenda to some degree, and he turns out to be like the biblical Cain, which is crazy.
I remember that, yeah.
But yeah, in this, he seems to know everything. He seems to have some kind of like cosmic awareness and knows that Spawn, or that Hell is trying to turn Al Simmons into Spawn, which is an angle I really don't like. This whole like baby's first master manipulation plot thing, where like these really thinly veiled obvious double crosses that like a 5-year-old could sniff out. Everybody in this is like really stupid and very thinly drawn, and are all cartoon characters, but not in a fun way. Because the movie weirdly kind of simultaneously takes itself too seriously and also not enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with
that. I don't know how
else
to put that.
Do you think...
It is not an easy movie to talk about.
The guy who did the effects for this movie, his name is nicknamed Spaz, right?
Spaz Williams, yeah.
Do you think he got that name after somebody saw these credits?
Oh my God! Do you see his name? Was that the Robert Kurtzman?
Yeah, I wondered about that earlier. I was like, Robert Kurtzman.
Okay, so but I didn't know he was in makeup before he was a producer. If that's actually Kurtzman, but here's why I think it must be, because that's who's unfortunately in charge of all of Star Trek these days.
Oh, no, that's Alex Kurtzman.
Oh, Alex Kurtzman. Oh, that's true. Okay, sorry. I got two names blurred up there.
I had that too when I saw it today.
Apologies.
I was like, whoa, the writer of The Walking Dead did this? Oh wait, no, that's Kirkman.
I went to Kurtzman. So apologies. The reason that my brain got stupid there, and I thought that was the guy, was because Alan McElroy has been writing on Picard.
Oh, okay.
And I thought maybe there was a connection here before that, because I've been trying to figure out forever how he got that job. Like, he hasn't even had a whole lot of credits between all the Spawn stuff he did in the 90s and more recently, but somehow he was on Picard.
Kurtzman, I guess, is just a big fan of Spawn.
Yeah,
which isn't surprising.
Yeah, it's really not.
No, because he starts on
anyway,
Hercules and Xena, I think.
Thomas Lowe.
Kurtzman.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Said, I think Kurtzman starts with Hercules and Xena, so he's writing at this point.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he would be. I forgot all about that. So, yeah, the big, brilliant double-cross plot here from on Hell's part is Malbolgia's gonna send down Clown and get Clown to work with the head of the CIA, essentially, In the comics, he's the head of the CIA. Here, it's A6 or whatever.
I like how he has a nuke poster. I didn't notice that.
Oh yeah, no, he's that evil. He just loves death and destruction.
Surprised he doesn't have a picture of a puppy getting kicked.
Bane there in the comments says the guys who did the special effects for this movie also did Walking Dead. I didn't know that.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Well, I don't want to throw them too far into the bus because they do good special effects work, but this was super rushed. And it's the director's fault more than anybody's because of the way...
we're looking at Clown right now, and Clown looks good.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, that's, makeup and stuff. I mean, I'm just saying, like...
Yeah.
There are some good, yeah, he said special effects, not makeup effects.
Oh, okay.
But he might have meant makeup effects. I don't know that.
Sorry, you just mean CGI. Yeah.
I thought he just meant CGI. But no, you're right. Clown looks fantastic. I think, usually, sometimes it's lit wrong, but usually I think Al Simmons' burned face looks okay.
Yeah. He looks a little bit like a sausage, but he doesn't look bad.
I'm okay with
how
it.
Spawn looks is he's clearly very restricted.
No, that's true. But at least he
stiff.
looks bad, unlike Deadpool.
Yeah.
Who's walking around and is like, oh my god, everybody's so horrified by my face. And I'm like, why? You don't look that bad. But anyway, so Hell's plan here is preposterous, but at least they have one, because in the comics, it's just spin your wheels forever and ever and ever, and never really tell the audience anything. In this, it's, they want Clown to get Al Simmons killed, so they don't use him as Spawn because he dies anyway. They manufacture that to happen in the first place, which probably eventually is retroactively done in the comics also, because for some reason McFarland let this movie influence the comics. But then, and that's how, like, Jessica Priest ends up retroactively being the person who kills him instead of Chapel and all of that. It's really, really stupid. And then their whole idea is Clown will get a bomb in Jason Wynn, and then get Al Simmons to kill him because they sent him to hell to become Spawn, so he wants revenge, and then that will set off a biological weapon that will kill everyone on Earth. And I guess that's how they're going to get all the souls they need to fight heaven. Austin, I have like 1,000 questions about this.
Well, and I had a question for you about the last scene.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not talking about what we're actually seeing, because I really want to break this plot down, but go ahead.
So, this is really stupid. So, yeah, Al is talking to his dog, and he's like, oh, Spaz, 17, protect the house. And then he just leaves with his dog outside. But is this dog 17? How is it still alive 5 years from now? And why does he just leave his dog outside? Is he stupid?
They mentioned the age of the dog? What are you talking about?
When he sees the dog, he's like, yo, Spaz, 17. Why does he say that?
17?
Is he saying his... I don't know. I don't understand.
I doubt it's his age. I didn't catch him saying a number there.
Maybe Terry says something and I just missed it, but...
Yeah, probably. Maybe he was talking about a kill count or something? I don't know.
Oh, maybe that. And
there's a lot of that, though.
Talking about his dog.
Everything about this movie is just hacked up scenes without context. So there's a lot of, like, weird non sequitur kinds of lines like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
no, you're right about that.
The character development or the like character dynamics that are being built, there's not any like real development. It's all surface. And that's almost being too kind to it. Like, you know, it's almost more like we're just representing what you might imagine in a real movie, or you know what, a longer ongoing story like a TV show or something. Mm-hmm. It all feels representative. It all feels like cutscenes in a video game or openings to like Michael Jackson music videos or something.
Yeah. I mean, this movie was put together by a smooth criminal.
So, I just want to break this plot down for a second and get past this. So, Austin, the first big question I have is, if hell wants to kill everyone on Earth, presumably they've waited until now because they just haven't been able to think of some other, like, either celestial or technological way to do it. Like, why not use nukes? Like, there's other ways you could do this. Why did you have to wait until 1990 whatever? Couldn't you have done it 30, 40 years ago at least, if not earlier?
Maybe they want to kill everybody, but they still want the land there, like, not nuclear, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know why, though, because
I wouldn't know
war
either.
will be fought at the gates of hell. They say that, and that's consistent with the comics, and that's what they want Al Simmons to do, is just lead them to heaven. And the way they talk about it, it's almost like they don't even need his... I'm being somewhat facetious when I say this, but it almost sounds like they don't even need his strategic abilities. It's more just they don't know how to get there, and they need someone to lead them there. That's really what it sounds like. You will lead my army. It's like, why do you need him specifically? Like, okay, he's got a high kill count. But, like, is he a master strategist? Is he good at war? Like, forget the fact that we're having our cake and eating it, too, and the comics have this problem, too, where he's both horrible enough to go to hell and a good enough person that all he wants is to get back to his family. And they cannot reconcile that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fun.
Like, yes, it would be difficult
mess.
to make that character sympathetic in any way, but it's maybe possible. I've just never seen it attempted in anything like a satisfying way or a believable way. Where, you know, he could maybe, like, compartmentalize things, where couldn't he have, there's a part of him that is cold and emotionless, and it's easy to kill people without thinking about it, because it's his job, he tells himself that he's doing the right thing for his country, but, like, it makes him harder and colder, because there's a part of him that knows that what he's doing is wrong, and there's the other part of him that just puts that completely away, that's just a regular family man. Like, you could kind of do that. He could basically be two different people without going as far as to making it multiple personalities. I'm sorry, what?
Well, he can be an assassin but still love his wife.
Yeah, but to be evil enough, because you'd almost have to be evil, right? Like, to be bad enough to both go to hell and Malbolgia wants him for his army. You'd think that he would have to be a little bit closer to, like, a psychopath or a sociopath or something. Unless the idea was, how good of a person has nothing to do with whether or not you go to hell, which is what it ought to be.
Well, unless it's just like a psychotic or sociopath or whatever isn't good to lead things. So you need, like, a balance.
Yeah, that's true. Where you can be in, like, denial about it.
Yeah, like, you're not going to make Billy Kincaid the leader of your spawns.
No, but I would read that miniseries. Dan Schneider has a super chat. I'll read that in a minute. Let me get back to my other big question about the hell plot. Some of these, by the way, like, digital map paintings are nice.
Yeah.
They apparently drew right over McFarland art to make some of the city shots.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Which is very cool. And I like some of the set building. I'm sorry.
No, I just said that is pretty cool. I didn't know that. So
the other big question I would have about this ludicrous kill the world plot is, and this kind of relates to the thing I was saying a minute ago about how maybe it shouldn't matter how good of a person you are to go to heaven or hell, because in the comics, neither one of them is really good or evil. I mean, hell certainly seems more evil at the end of the day, but, like, they both use the same sorts of tactics and stuff, and McFarlane is trying to do, like, a Shades of Grey thing with it, where it's not really a battle of heaven and hell, it's really more of, like a gray humanity sort of lesson, so, or theme. So why, would you want to kill everyone on Earth? Because wouldn't you just be giving yourself some soldiers and heaven some soldiers? You're not going to get all of them. Why would you do that?
I guess everyone on Earth's an a-hole.
If you're Jason Wynn, do you really think working with hell is a good idea? Do you think they're going to have your best interests at heart? Like, how do you think that's going to turn out okay for you? That's crazy.
I don't know. It's way more thought than they put into it, clearly.
I have said this before, but if you're Hell, why, just out of even the supporting cast we have, why do you take Al Simmons? Why not Jessica Priest? Why isn't Jessica Priest Spawn?
Because she's a plank of wood who has no thoughts.
Well, that's kind of what you maybe want. Like, if she's evil enough to do your bidding. Like what I don't get
But she also has to be a commander, right?
Yeah, but like, why does Spawn have to do all these things of his own free will? Why do they need... Not only do I wonder why Spawn like has to, you know, agree to do things, why they can't just you know, find somebody that would be crazy enough to be willing to do it anyway. They could probably find that person.
And it could also be a thing, maybe, I just had this thought, like, maybe she's like a better assassin for Wynn to have, so he doesn't want to give her up, but he's like, I'll give up Al Simmons, maybe.
Why does Hell care about Wynn? Why do they need Wynn?
No, but he's got to offer up a person to be sacrificed, right?
Okay. I don't know why, though. I don't know why he even needs to be involved at all.
Yeah, that, I mean, I couldn't tell you.
And that's the other thing I was going to say with Wynn is also, why does Spawn have to be the one that kills Wynn to set the bomb off? Why couldn't Clown do it? Why couldn't anyone do it? And also, why is Clown trying to... This whole commentary is going to be nothing but questions. Why does Clown try to get Spawn to kill Wynn before he's got the bomb in him? What would have happened... These transitions are so silly. And one of the big things that dates it, DuPay in his commentary says that, well, in the weird kind of cut-up commentary between 3 sets of people that are all in different rooms, and you kind of wish that they just had 3 commentaries on the thing, but DuPay says that that was one of the big ways they were trying to create, like, a comic book feel.
Oh, okay. Weird.
And... I sort of get that, and it could work. I think it happens too often. The bigger issue with it, you know, you could sort of work in a stylized way, kind of like Star Wars, although that's a little silly too. But the problem with it is that a lot of the scenes are so short that it feels like the transitions are there to distract you from the fact that it's so weird that we're cutting so often, and because of the nonsensical nature of the structure of the whole thing.
And with Star Wars, it just kind of owns that it's a little silly, and it's just like wipes, right? Like, it's not doing the like extreme thing where it's like an X and it bleeds open into the next scene.
Well, here it takes a piece of a frame and a shape, and then it shoots into the next scene, and like opens it up with that shape. And there's this weird, like, almost conspiracy documentary element to it, to me. Did you have this thought where it's like, oh man, isn't it insane that the street corner in front of Al Simmons' house is shaped like a cross? He was always meant to be Spawn!
I have a question for you, Cab. Why would Hell send somebody back with like all of these powers, but let them walk around like they're having a heart attack like most of the time?
Well,
like,
that's
all
because
does for, like the next hour is just walk around going, oh.
That's because one of 2 things is happening. Either the movie is not communicating what is happening with Spawn and why he's in pain when he first comes down, or the director and producers in the commentary retroactively came up with an explanation for it because they didn't actually know what it was when they shot it. So in the commentary, they explain it, or I think it's maybe just DuPay explains it as his costume has not like fully gestated yet, and and he's just his like newly formed necro body. And then he's going to get eventually... And like, Clown says something later about the larva stage and all of that. So, like, they've thought some of this out, but they're not really communicating it to us. In the comics, he just comes to Earth already in his outfit.
Yeah, it's just how he's born.
I don't know if this was a cheap way to try to engender sympathy from the audience, maybe. It's the best I can come up with.
Yeah, to make him feel a little bit more human.
Yeah, and we'll sympathize with him and or empathize, and he'll feel more tragic because this is the one time he gets to see Wanda, and he can't even like stand up straight, and he looks like a pathetic drunk homeless person. So let me go ahead and read this super chat from Dan Schneider, $5 super chat. He says, do you think Violator in this movie was influenced by Penguin from Batman Returns? That's a connection some people have made. Are they looking at that? I think the actor maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely part of it.
Leguizamo, that was 5 years before this, or at least before the release of this. Yeah, there's no way he's not remembering that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as to create the clown conceptually, he's the thing that's most off the page, really.
Yeah, but it could also be that they decided to make him like, a guy in like a big fat suit like that because of Penguin and Batman Returns. Like that could have also influenced going straight
as
off the
opposed to
page like
what, hiring somebody that is already like that big and tiny, like.
Well, like yeah,
because that's what clown looks like.
No, I know. I'm just saying like that could have been part of the reason why they went so off the page is because we'd already seen this.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, they're like they had a blueprint to look at for how you could realize it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yep. No, that's a good call. That's a weird possible connection between this and Mystery Men, because Danny DeVito could have played Clown, and I'm sure they thought about that. I don't know if they actually asked him, and they wouldn't have had the budget to pay him because there's not really big stars in this movie. But Danny DeVito would have been the obvious person to play Clown, and Danny DeVito almost made Mystery Men.
Interesting.
Yeah. He almost directed it.
Yeah. I think Clown by Danny DeVito would have been a little bit better. I think Leguizamo does a good job with what he has, but I also think Danny DeVito could have sold some of this a little bit better.
Maybe so. And it's also hard not to think that if Danny DeVito was in this movie, he just wouldn't have tolerated some of how bad this is, but maybe not. Yeah. Because Returns isn't very good either.
Dude, Returns is Citizen Kane compared to
this. I don't want to agree with that, but
Returns is not that bad.
It's not this bad. It's nonsensical in its way too, but at least for a style over substance movie, it's got style. It's got panache.
Yeah.
There's a visual vision there. This is all over the place. Here's an example. Hell was not supposed to be in this movie. And Dupay...
No, you can tell it feels very shoehorned in.
It was made mostly by special effects people. It has a little bit of the problem Deadpool does, except I think Deadpool is a better movie, and they stick more to a script, which is why that works better than something like this, where... Like, Michael Jai White says this in interviews. These people did not care about telling a story. They were just obsessed with special effects. And so... For a movie where Dupay complains that they didn't have enough money and they didn't have enough time to realize big things they initially had planned, like Jessica Priest coming back in the third act as a Hellspawn, for instance. I've talked about this before. It's kind of weird how much last-minute special effects stuff ends up happening in this movie. Like, if you don't have enough money or time to do it the way you originally conceptualized it, how do you end up with a movie that originally had 77 visual effects shots, and it turns into 400? How did that happen? How did a movie that originally wasn't going to show hell or Malbolgia, suddenly he decides it's got to have those things? And it looks as rushed as it does because it's that rushed. Apparently, half the visual effects shots, Austin, were not fully turned in until 2 weeks before theatrical release.
That's crazy.
Are you shocked?
No.
Don't be. It looks like it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just effects that don't hold up great today. There were issues at the time. And it's so inconsistent, because there's a couple of things that look really cool still. Mm-hmm. Particularly the initial Violator fight. There's stuff in that I cannot believe they pulled off in 1997.
Yeah, I'd agree with
It's
that.
so inconsistent.
No, that whole sequence I think looks pretty good for the time.
Well, that's because that is the main thing Spaz Williams did for this movie.
Oh, okay.
And Spaz Williams is the guy who did all of the actual digital T-Rex stuff for Jurassic Park.
Hmm. I remember that being a big talking point in one of the behind the scenes features I watched on this movie back in the day. The Jurassic Park comparison and just that sequence in general. It's the big thing they talked about.
Why are we wasting our time with the devil worshippers? Except just to say, at this time, you had a lot of people in the audience that would have been really that really worried about anti-Christian things and devil worshippers and that kind of thing. So like, this movie's so edgy, let's throw them in the movie.
See, I'm gonna disagree. That is the like beat every superhero movie has, like up to a certain point where you have like this is like the RoboCop stopping crime thing, except it's done so badly we didn't even have him stop them. Because that's how it's set up. Like it's set up like I don't know, like RoboCop's gonna stop the guys robbing the gas station or something.
They don't really do anything. They just run up and then they
run
get
off, yeah.
kind of freaked out and they run off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
They also reference
is
The
it worth
Exorcist?
clowns' joke? Like clowns like, oh, we get all of the, I don't even want to say it on camera. But like,
that's kind of funny.
yeah, but was it worth wasting our time when we do like no background for Al Simmons, when we spend no time establishing his relationship with his wife or anything?
Mm-hmm.
And I get that the comics don't either. They do it all retroactively, but this movie doesn't open like the comics with a shot of Spawn having amnesia, having no idea who he is, and having to backtrack and figure his life out 5 years after he died. They could have done that.
Yeah, it could have opened like Daredevil.
Well, that's true, and then you could backtrack it, but
Or you can just like the shot of him like on the building. You don't necessarily have to backtrack, but you could open on a similar shot.
yeah. But what this does is it opens before he's Spawn and then does nothing with that. What is even the point of seeing Al Simmons before he's Spawn if you're not going to develop any kind of chemistry with his wife? And to hear Michael Jai White talk about it, it's almost like there's this whole like Daredevil director's cut level story that got cut out of the movie. And I appreciate how candid he is about how this movie turned out and how he doesn't think it's very good and he's upset with the director for not caring about story. But I don't buy that there was that much extra.
I had a very similar reaction with Amazing Spider-Man 2 because Andrew Garfield says the same thing about that movie, and my response to both is okay, but what's here is also really bad. So like I don't know, just because there's more of it doesn't mean that stuff's good.
Well, and like he claims there was a much better cut, and maybe there was, but it still probably doesn't elevate this a whole point above whatever rating I give it at the end, right? Like I would be surprised because to hear Dupay talk about it, and I mean, grain of salt with both these guys. I don't. It's conflicting. I don't know which one's right about it, but he claims there were like 2 scenes, like short scenes, with Wanda and Al that they retooled and just gave us pieces of in flashback, which is really bad because you've got these just random lines that they each throw at each other completely out of context where I don't know what they're talking about at all. It's just like all you get from it is they were married and they loved each other. And there was some kind of character drama that happened between them, and I couldn't tell you what it was about. Like, there's nothing about the fact that she couldn't, or that Al Simmons couldn't give her a child. To hear McFarland talk about it in the commentary, and I wish we had his entire commentary because they cut pieces of it out for the other guys. And he said some pretty hilarious harebrained things. But
of course, it's Todd McFarland.
And Eric and I years ago did a commentary on that commentary. By the way,
I remember listening to that. Yeah, I remember that being really funny.
Yeah, there was some hilarious stuff in that. But anyway, I've always wanted to do another one of those, but I can't come up with the right commentary for it.
No, because you need a Todd McFarland.
Yeah.
You're just gonna have to wait until the inevitable commentary on the next Bond movie.
I don't know. The Singer commentary for Apocalypse gets close. But I don't know if I want to do that at this point.
But just imagine the commentary for that next Bond cap where he's talking about how it's good, but, you know, my 800-page script was way better.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I forget where I was going with that. Let me go ahead and read this this last super chat that we've gotten so far. Bob the Hun, $20 super chat. Thank you, Bob. That was so cool of you, man. Appreciate the support. He says the reason this is PG-13 is because, we haven't even talked about the director's cut thing and all of that, is because even though the comics are R-rated, it was mostly read by people too young to see an R-rated film, like middle schoolers to high schoolers. Mortal Kombat is PG-13 for the same reason. Yeah, and
there was a lot of that stuff.
And to be clear, that's the logic of the studio.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, even past this, like we just did AVP, and that's the same thing with that.
Yeah.
So we want to get kids in the theater to watch this Monster Mash.
What's really strange about it is just how bad the censorship on this was. Where like and I've never done any material on the PG-13 version because for a long time it was kind of hard to get your hands on. I think you can rent it digitally now, but like on disc, I don't think it was ever even released, at least here.
Interesting, because I'm watching it on Netflix and it's the PG-13 version.
Oh, you're watching the PG-13 version?
Mm-hmm. And the only reason I know that is because I know the part of him dying in the fire is extended.
Okay, so I should have made sure you watched the same cut I was doing.
Because, I mean, they add like half a second.
No, that cut is much different.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a bunch of little pieces that are cut out, like a lot of weird lines and things that are gone. A bunch of clown stuff gets changed and reworked, and you need to watch this version because then you'll appreciate how weird it is. Some of the things that were cut.
Oh, okay, interesting. I mean, I've seen the R-rated cut like a long time ago, but. It's been a while.
But also, our timelines aren't going to line up.
It'll be fine.
I didn't even think of that. Well, because it's not available on Netflix or anywhere here, so I thought you were going to have to rent it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think to ask you about it.
That's fine.
Yeah, we need to make sure we're watching the same cuts, still.
I mean, we're mostly talking broadly anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I can be a lot more specific, I guess, but I have talked about this a lot. I don't know how somebody like Jason Wynn, as much texturally as he is, gets into the position he's in.
Yeah, I don't know. I also don't know why he's in the mission at the beginning. Is it like commonplace for the head of the CIA or whatever to invade Korea?
I wouldn't think so. Well, I guess is it supposed to just be like a black ops operation?
Mm-hmm.
Like A6.
Yeah, I mean, you just wouldn't think that he would be on the mission with them.
He's a horrible. That's true. He's a horrible, evil person in the comics too. But there's a lot of like personal consequences to it that he has to deal with. Like none of that is here. Like we don't deal with like alcoholism or being estranged from his wife or like any of that stuff. He's just a cardboard cutout, mustache twirly guy to the point where he has like a villain laugh.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious, and I think Martin Sheen is great. Like
I was gonna say, his character's entirely made by Martin Sheen. Without him, it's nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is why Jessica Priest is Jessica Priest, because I think they want that character to be like a Famke Janssen and Goldeneye, but she's just not.
Well, and also it's not her fault. She gets nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like she could be a really cool actress. How would you know?
No, and that's true. But I'm just saying that because he has nothing to work with either, but he's at least Martin Sheen in it.
Dan Schneider, a lot of kids read Spawn. It was probably a smart business decision to make it PG-13, even if it wasn't artistically. And I think you could have made still a much better and more story-driven PG-13 Spawn than they did. That's not really the problem.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
Because like the story sucks regardless. But it is really weird. Some of the censorship choices, like things that not only these days like don't even seem like very far at all for PG-13, but just stuff that I can't help but like even back then was kind of weird to cut. A lot of clown lines that don't even have any profanity were like it was just more sexual than they wanted it to be, but like it still wasn't. It was almost like the ratings board was. Well, I don't even think it was the ratings board. I think it was New Line making them cut things, because if it was the ratings board, like they're somewhat inconsistent, but
they could be a-holes.
Well, no, absolutely they could. But there were things like they didn't like Clown pulling out a like a stained. I mean, it's dumb. I don't like it, but like stained underwear. Like they made them cut part of that.
Oh, okay, weird.
And things like that. And I have a theory about it that I hadn't thought of until today, which is
because I did get that scene, so maybe I am watching the R-rated cut, and it's just that I thought the burning scene went longer than it actually does. Maybe.
No, the way the director and the producers have always talked about it, it's like you would expect that burning scene to last a whole lot longer than it does if anybody felt the need to cut it, because it's not very long at all.
Oh, okay, so maybe I am watching the R-rated cut then, and I just misremembered that.
What is your like sorry, that's Angela, and it's very silly that they felt the need to do that just because they hated that they couldn't find a place to put her in the movie. But like, what is she doing at this party? Why is she here? And if she's here to hunt Spawn, why doesn't she hunt Spawn?
You're thinking too hard, Cap. You're supposed to clap. You recognize that.
But yeah, how long is your runtime?
It is. Oh, I'm watching on Netflix, so it's like split, where it's counting down on one side. But it's about an hour and I think 36 minutes is what it said when I started.
Okay. Yeah, so you have the same cut or very close to the same cut.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw a discrepancy somewhere where one cut was like 136 and one was 138, and I don't understand that either.
Weird, yeah.
So anyway, I wanted to point out how silly the run animation. I can't really believe I'm talking about like a video game, but the run animation outside of this place when his cape shoots out is very silly.
Wait, sorry, the run animation of his cape shooting out?
No. When his cape shoots out, he's running.
Oh, okay.
And it looks so unnatural. I mean, like outside of this place, like a couple scenes ago.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I had to put it back because I just got the big shot of him coming down. So that's why I was like focused on that. That's why. Okay. Yeah. No, I got you.
Yeah, and his dropping from the skylight, you know, in a very like 89 Flugelheim museum kind of way, like is one of the better effect shots in the movie. Like the cape is kind of dated in the textures. Like it doesn't look like it's really there, but I like the effort in it. I like the attempt at the detail. I like how big it is. Like there's stuff I like about the cape. It's not perfect. It's not anything like perfect, but it's not the worst thing special effect wise.
Yeah, I don't think the cape holds up at all, but I mean, I guess it's nice that they attempted it, but I don't think it looks very good.
Yeah. But like, I like things about it.
And it's also
if I can imagine what they think it looks
chains
like.
Are like biting it that win. Like it's just a weird shot.
So again, Clown is baiting Spawn from the beginning. You got murdered by Win. Go get your revenge. And in the comics, it's get your revenge on the people that killed you so that we can make sure that you're evil enough to work for us, or like you have to give yourself over to essentially the dark side, right? Here it's this like baiting him things so that he'll kill Win and destroy the world, but Win doesn't have the bomb yet.
Well, why doesn't he just kill Win in that scene? Because the only reason he doesn't is because Priest is shooting at him. But like 2 scenes ago, Clown told him he's immortal as long as he doesn't get decapitated.
That's true.
Which doesn't apply to Clown, apparently, so...
And every action scene in this movie, including the climax, is like this. Where I don't know what the point of the scene is except to be a big action set piece. I mean, it's one of the most egregious examples of you're not actually furthering story because there actually isn't really a story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Not really.
That crotch shot, by the way, is like the most 90s thing in this movie. That's so like From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah. And yeah, when he gets the bullet holes in him and he looks up and is like, damn, that's it's hard not to laugh at that.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not laughing with it, I'm laughing at it.
No, I agree. The effect of the bullet holes in him looks pretty good, though.
Yeah. And that was cool. And now we get the most anticlimactic thing in the movie when he kills Jessica Priest. Oh man, I don't think I ever noticed that before. That's so stupid. His eyes turn from green to red when he decides to murder someone.
No, I was going to ask you about that too. Like, it's so dumb.
It's so dumb! And like, what does it even mean? Because his eyes are green because he's made of necroplasm, which used to be called psychoplasm, and I like that better and I wish we kept it, but like, why would they change color? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's also weird listening to the commentary because those guys all talk about, especially the director, they talk about the costume like, well, of course it had to be armor. Like, there was no way we were going to make it anything but armor.
I will give them in that and their choice for this. It does look more like it's alive than the comics where it's clearly spandex, but it's supposed to be alive.
There's certain scenes where it kind of looks that way, especially when it's moving because, you know, the spike's popping out and all of that. But I don't like the mask because it looks like a motorcycle helmet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I don't think it's a great costume, but I just mean in terms of that versus the comics, like...
I guess I see what you're saying, but
like
that is my main
idea.
problem with it, is I'm having a hard time buying it being alive because it looks like metal or hard plastic or something.
No, and I agree with that. I just mean versus the spandex.
Well, I hear what
comics.
you're saying, Austin, but I'm used to the idea of a thing that looks like spandex being alive because of Venom, which was also McFarlane.
All I'm saying is that McFarlane's dumb.
Yeah, but you never mind it in a comic book.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Okay, so if you're Spawn and you're gonna make yourself invisible in this corner, wouldn't you think now would be the time to start moving where, like, nobody can see you? But no, he just stays in the same place and then pops back out.
Well, because he's, like, disguised as part of the wall. Like, I don't know if he could move.
Oh, maybe not.
But I also don't know how that works. He does that a few times in this movie, and I don't
know if that's a thing he can do in the comics. I don't remember it.
I think Spawn's just, like, really poorly, laid out. Like, they don't really give a good idea of what he can and can't do.
No, it's Lester Superman 2 again.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. Like, there's that part later on where he does the same thing where he turns into the wall, but where he turns into, like, the spike that Clown drives into.
Isn't that weird? Another action scene, I have no idea why it's there.
Just because we needed another action scene, I guess.
Like, he's already fought Violator. Now he's fighting Clown in a truck. Okay, so...
Well, it's because T2.
So the big kind of money shot with Spawn on the building with his cape billowing was almost not even in the movie. And I can't even imagine that. Where, like, it's one of the kind of, few big redeeming visual moments. Like, it looks like a McFarlane drawing. Like, could you imagine that not being there? That's crazy. But, like,
I don't think it looks good. I would have cut it.
I'm just saying relative to the rest of the movie.
Relative to the rest
it's
of
at
the
least
movie,
gothic, you know?
I agree with that, yeah.
I'm giving it what I can give it, Austin. And as a kid, that was the one shot that I was, like, really impressed with. And yeah, it doesn't hold up great, but I just can't even believe that it was an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
They came up with that after test screenings, I think.
Oh, that is weird.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was a cut of this movie before they made that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wish that they would have taken that money and added, human scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thomas Lowe asks if Sam and Twitch are in this movie. They are for
They
half
have a
second.
cameo. They have a 2-second cameo at the end,
And
just
they got
like
guys
Angela.
And they have guys that look exactly like them.
Yeah. I don't know if those guys could have acted, but they look like good casting, potentially. Tom, $2 super chat. Or are you joking when you say they look just like them?
No, they look right off the page.
That's what I thought.
It's same with the.
But everything I'm praising, you're like, nah, Cap, you're an idiot. that looks terrible. So I thought you might be being facetious.
No, the CGI of Twitch looks terrible. They should have cut him.
That is my favorite Jason Wynn moment because A, he looks like a toddler, and B, I cannot believe that he is stupid enough to not realize what the double cross is here. When he goes, when Clown's like, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a bomb in you, and or we're gonna put a trigger in you, and if you get killed, then the bomb goes off everywhere. He goes, that's a good idea. I like that.
That's a good idea. Are you sure
it's
about
so
that?
Good. That's a good idea. I like that. I want to apologize to the actress playing Wanda, but I don't whatsoever believe that she has this job.
All I could think of during that scene was Jean Grey in the first X-Men movie when she's delivering the speech. Some of the shots are like right out of that.
Oh, that's true. Except Famke Janssen delivered it better.
Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely right. So, Cap, what is it with
it's up to us to put an end to the suffering. Can we get another take of that, maybe? Could you sound educated?
No, we're moving on. Now it's cheerleader Violator.
Oh, no. It's, like, I don't know, that always stuck with me. It's up to us to put an end. I can't even believe that line reading. You're giving a formal lecture.
Matt Bolger doesn't even close his mouth and he speaks in proper English.
Now, according to the director, that's supposed to be all of hell speaking through him, and that's why his mouth doesn't move. And I say, wait, how's that an explanation?
Why do they all speak with the voice of Dr. Claw?
Yeah, I know. I don't understand that. The director says that he fought really hard to keep this scene in the movie. I need someone to explain why that was so important to him.
Because we got to see Matt Bolger again, Kat. And he picked up Clown, and he was like, look how bigger I am than you.
Well, and according to Michael Jai White, this part of that scene wasn't even in the initial cut. Because, again, they added all the Matt Bolger stuff later. I do like I had the tenure. That's kind of funny. He's got lines here and there that I dig, but the problem is only about 20% of them, and he just keeps talking.
Yeah.
And the performance is good. It's right off the page. But the problem is I don't like Clown in the comics either.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tolerate him because it's part of the whole, trappings of it. And he doesn't overstay his welcome usually in an issue the way he does in this. I mean, he does talk for like pages on end sometimes, but he doesn't feel like he's around as much as he is here, where he just won't get off the screen. And I don't mean to come at it like a fanboy, but when I have to constantly listen to vulgar, unfunny clown speech, it's difficult not to wish we had, like, one other, classic early Spawn character in this movie, like Overkill. Or Cygor. Or Sam and Twitch, I mean, not even just villains, like... It's really unfortunate that we couldn't have had a cop presence in this movie.
Yeah, no, cut the Matt Bolger stuff and include the cop aspect.
The big reason I said earlier that I don't know if I buy just how different Michael J. White claims that movie was, or that it was that much better. I mean, I trust him when he says he was shocked by how different it was, sure, but like, how much more could they have shot? It was a 63-day shoot, is all it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
And they must have done some reshooting.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much of that they had, if they did. But the thing is, he says that in the theater, or when the movie was released and he watched the final cut, he was shocked by the thing at the end when Spawn pulls the detonator, the bomb, out of Win, because that's just special effects used with unrelated footage they had already. And the director talks about it too in his commentary, but he's like really proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to his credit, there's a lot of things that he says didn't turn out as well as he was hoping they would, and he does not think it's a perfect movie. So I don't mean to say that he's real conceited about it, but I just wish they got somebody that cared a little bit more about story. I mean, it's kind of like a Mark Steven Johnson situation, but even less competent.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of that again.
I was just thinking, because you were saying about Clown, like you wish there was somebody else. You could have had the homeless people. We got none of them.
Well, and with all those characters, the director in this commentary just keeps saying over and over again, "Yeah, I wish we had time for this, and we just didn't." I'm like, your movie is an hour 37.
Mm-hmm. Well, the issue is that they approached everything from the wrong perspective.
Yeah.
So it made it way harder to include things.
Well, that's true, because they're thinking it's got to be a popcorn, almost like family action movie. Oh, speaking of that, that was the theory I started talking about earlier that I didn't get to, Austin. Tell me what you think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Is the reason there was so much censorship from the studio and possibly the ratings board, I'm not sure, because of the subject matter in the first place? So they're like, the fact in 1997, the fact that you're putting out what is supposed to be ostensibly a PG-13 movie about hell, about a man back from hell, already nearly gets you to an R place. So when you start putting in anything remotely vulgar or violent after that, we have to start axing really hard, because your subject matter is already turning off parents.
See, I would want to say hopefully not, but I also can't say that for certain. Like maybe that is a part of it.
It's just like being 13 when this came out and liking Spawn at the time myself and really wanting to see this. That was very much in the air. The idea that like anything with like demonic imagery.
We're right in the heart of that with video games.
Yeah.
Are we not? Like, is this not around like Mortal Kombat and stuff?
It's just after that.
Yeah. But I mean, like that's already happened.
We're like it's 3 or 4 years after that, and so you're sorry, you have these like moral arbiter Christian parents primarily that are like, we need to keep this kind of filth away from our kids. You didn't see PG-13 stuff about the subject matter very often.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder if that by itself made it difficult to get past censors and a ratings board.
That is possible.
It sounds crazy now, but... And that started changing real hard even just a few years after this.
Yeah, because this is like right between, like I said, like the Mortal Kombat censorship stuff and like the Grand Theft Auto ones. But like, so we're like deep in the middle of that stuff.
When I first saw this, I liked it better than I do now. I still wasn't super impressed with it, but it did still feel edgy enough to be kind of something I felt like I wasn't supposed to be watching. Like, that's how little of this kind of thing I saw at 13.
Mm-hmm. But I also think you could do the PG-13 action.
Sorry, this green screen with Cagliostro makes the Marvel movies look like everyone is always really there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think you can do the PG-13 action thing, but also just restructure it better. Like, I don't even think that's part of the issue.
No, absolutely. I do too.
Like, I would cut all of the hell stuff. I would also start with him being Spawn and like have his origin kind of come to him through the movie.
Yeah.
And then you can use that cut time to put it elsewhere. Like, you could do the homeless characters. You could also maybe, and you're the Spawn guy, so like, you tell me what you think.
Oh
Like,
God, don't say that.
You could maybe restructure it. Like, you could have overt kill Spawn maybe.
Why not?
And so you have him instead of Priest.
Why not? What a great idea.
Or you could have Cygor kill Spawn, which is preferable.
And you can still have, and you can have him work for Wynn.
Mm-hmm.
And have Wynn order his death for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. No, that is like the type of streamlining that I don't think any of us would be that mad about.
No, you could do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, Cap, imagine if Al Simmons was killed by his head shooting off.
Yeah, I know, I had that thought too. For anybody that doesn't know what he's talking about, that was an action figure thing that I just couldn't stop making fun of in Spawn Year. And there's a overkill figure that, or not an overkill figure, but there's a vehicle or something that actually comes with a comic that shows his head flying off in a panel. It's amazing.
Yeah, then maybe you have Clown kind of more in the background, where you're kind of setting up stuff with him, but you're not going to go full all the way with it yet.
Yeah. Well, with the exception of maybe the thing with the kid and the dog, I would make the argument that if you showed somebody just this sequence from start to finish, like Clown taunting taunting Spawn and then transforming into Violator and that whole fight, most people would expect the rest of this is probably a better movie.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
From the beginning of this scene, it looks more stylized, it looks more gothic, I like the lighting, I like the set, like, all the choices here are right for a Spawn adaptation. Great. Say again?
The animatronic for Violator looks great.
Yeah. And Clown is kind of menacing before he turns into Violator. Like, I'm going to tear you to pieces, million it to every state. That sounds like something he would say in the comics. Like, everything about this feels like a better adaptation than the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only real issue you have is just that the transformation effect is really bad. But outside of that, it's passable.
And I'll say that at the time, it was impressive. Like, it doesn't hold up great, but back then, it was the one thing in this movie where I was like, that's actually pretty cool. So I still like it better than it sounds like you do. But
I just think it's a little overzealous. Like, we weren't there yet.
You're right, but compare it to any of the hell stuff and the cape stuff. And...
No, I'm not saying it's the worst effect in the movie. I'm saying in the sequence. Like,
no, but I'm saying it's like leaps and bounds above every other effect, or a lot of the other effects in the movie.
Maybe with the exception of the face, I guess. That's the big thing.
Sure. And like that fall looks okay, but it's all in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not too hard.
I mean, I would go as far as to say I think there are CGI shots with Violator here that look a little bit better than some of the CGI shots in Jurassic Park.
Oh wow! Well, there's a couple of shoddy shots in that too.
Yeah, no.
But 1993 versus 97, there's this like huge leap.
Yeah, no, and Jurassic Park's got dated effects as well, but I would put that in with this. Like it looks well enough.
So, in his commentary, McFarland makes a really big deal out of his cameo and being threatened by his own creation.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, look how cool and meta that is. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. I mean, the thing is, most people watching this movie in the theater in 1997 don't know what you look like. And also, you're not like a homeless guy, so you are playing a character. You know, I mean, like, let's be real with that. But there is a big missed opportunity there, and there's also a really kind of odd, lack of communication just in the shooting and in the editing, because and McFarland talks about this too, and he's right about it. A lot of people thought that Spawn kills McFarlane in this scene.
I was gonna say they should have gone all the way and had him get eaten by Violator. That would have been fun.
That would have been cool too. Yeah, absolutely. Either way, but like it should have been McFarlane's cameo character that dies instead of the kid's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Or McFarlane could have just played the kid's dad. He doesn't get anything to do.
That is true.
I never had that thought before.
He'd only be in one extra scene.
Yeah, he'd have one line.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to see Todd McFarland get eaten by Violator. That'd be fun.
It would be somewhat cathartic for me, I guess.
Well, I don't know. I like when we do stuff like that with creators where we're like...
No, and he would have loved it.
No, he liked being threatened by Spawn.
He seems disappointed in the commentary that he didn't die. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe it'll happen.
Joke if you did a franchise like he keeps showing up and he keeps dying.
Oh, it'd be great. Yeah, he gets killed in every one. Well, you remember like Frank Miller loved it in Daredevil.
Yeah. No, because it's fun when we do that. We take a creator and they get killed by one of their creations.
The crucifixion thing is obviously too on the nose and goofy, and this is not that kind of a character.
Well, it also just looks weird because nothing's like holding his arms there. Like he's just stabbed in through the back. Like he's just holding his arms out like that.
I never even thought about that. But what I was going to say is, it's kind of odd to do a like visual Jesus allegory with Spawn because the audience is supposed to wonder which way he's going to go, and you're kind of just straight up saying, no, he is a full-on hero. Mm-hmm. It's like I really don't like that about that choice.
Yeah, and I think that's something in general I don't think this movie does well enough. Like, I don't think there's ever really a moment where you think he could go bad.
No, he doesn't even really feel like an anti-hero. You know, to hear the producers and the director in the commentary, you'd think that Spawn was like, you know, the most ethically ambiguous hero that's ever been on screen. They're like, oh, look, he's killing people. Like, Batman and Superman would never do that. I'm like, yeah, but he was bad enough to go to hell. Like, I'm not and he was a soldier right before he left. I'm not really that surprised.
And Batman's killing people way worse than Spawn is in the Burton movies.
Well, that's true too. Yeah.
Spawn never straps a bomb to a guy's chest and then laughs at him before he explodes.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I'm actually kind of struggling to even think of really anybody that Spawn kills. Like, he threatens people and comes close, but, like...
He only kills Jessica Priest, I think.
Yeah, that's true. And, I mean, you could argue self-defense with that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, he's toting guns and stuff. So, I mean,
yeah, but Cap's eyes turned red when he killed Jessica.
Oh, my God, that's right.
So he's evil.
I don't mean to talk about it like he's, you know... an altruistic character that they're pretending like is edgy or something. Like, obviously it isn't that, but he's not as scary an anti-hero as they're pretending he is.
Well, it's just that we're not really doing enough with any of that. Like, you could have had him kill those Satanist people early on, because like I said, that feels like that's what that beat should be.
Oh, yeah. No, that's true. That would have been a place to do it.
And then you could have tied in the cop stuff.
let him kill somebody in cold blood.
Yeah, have him kill Cagliostro. I'm tired of looking at him.
Yeah, he's a bit of a waste of space in this movie. I mean, it's just the really standard archetype where you got to have your, you know, mysterious wise sage guy that tells you where to go and what to do, and he's not that helpful. Like he trains Spawn for like 6 seconds, and I feel like that's all stuff that Clown could have done that.
When you mentioned Mark Steven Johnson,
yeah,
and Ghost Rider does this character, but he's far more memorable in that movie.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and it also sucks when you take a character off the page that had a caricature kind of face and look that is memorable, and you kind of dwindle them down to nothing that you'd take with you. I guess maybe just because you wanted Nicole Williamson to get FaceTime. I don't know. Like, why doesn't he have the long beard? I don't understand that.
Well, he just looks like Spawn's palling around with like Van Helsing.
It's really
like
generic
the Hugh
looking.
Jackman version.
And I don't mean to say that Cagliostro has, in the comics, the most unique or original look or anything, but more so than this. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's close, but his face is shaved. You're like he's got the hat and everything. You're just like, why doesn't he have the Santa Claus beard? I don't understand that.
No, it would have been cool.
It feels like a compromise for no good reason. And I'm not saying the movie is somehow better if you have that. Just these are all questions I have. The dog feels cheap. The kid feels cheap.
Oh, that was the other thing. So earlier on, I was like, Al just leaves his dog outside when he goes to work. Terry's like, "Oh, the dog's outside. It'll just walk home."
They're in a big city.
Yeah.
They're in New York. He's like, he tells Cyan, the dog knows how to get home better than we do. And I'm like, that's probably not true, though. And even if so, you're in a big, violent city.
That shot looks like it should be in a 3D movie where the claws come out like that.
Yeah, it does. Oh, you're a couple seconds ahead of me.
Oh, okay.
At least we're watching the same movie. That's good.
It holds on to it a little too long that it makes it look like it's in a 3D movie.
That's true. Something I was going to say earlier, Austin, is it's so apparently the writer and director intentionally wanted it to be vague. Or maybe this is even, I'm not sure whose idea this was. I think it's McFarland in the commentary who talks about it, but they wanted it to be vague whose child Cyan is, which is why they don't talk about Al Simmons not being able to give her a child, and I don't really know what the point is of that. And I don't know about you, like, I don't really find myself even that curious about it in this context.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of just don't care.
Because these don't really feel like people, and so I just don't care that much. Like, when you have a movie that's so driven by set pieces and special effects, and all the character stuff is an afterthought, I'm not really thinking that hard about, oh, there's this child, and Spawn is drawn to her, seems to have a connection with her. But he does that in the comics too. Like, I'm never really thinking maybe it's his kid. I guess it could be. I guess the one moment that is supposed to make you really question it probably is at the party where Terry, who in the comics it's like 50, 60 issues, by the way, before Terry Fitzgerald knows that Al Simmons is back from the dead. And we do it immediately here, where he goes, oh, do you know about Cyan? And I wonder if that was supposed to be kind of a tell.
I wondered that too, yeah.
Where, like, Terry knows that it's not his. Because otherwise, I'm not really sure why he'd asked that. I'm not sure why that would be the first thing that would come to him. Beyond just, well, you probably shouldn't kill me because you'll feel bad because I have a daughter. Like, maybe that's the angle, but it could be either of those things.
I have a daughter, that means it's okay for me to bang your wife.
Terry seems awful because of the dog thing, but less so because of marrying Wanda. Like, we just don't really have any background or context for it. It's been 5 years, and
no, like, the most interesting thing you can say about Terry in this movie is that he's now white.
Yeah,
that's what else is there to say about him?
Which was done by, apparently, the studio asked for that for the obvious cynical reason.
Oh, of course.
They were afraid the movie wouldn't appeal enough to a white audience, and people would think that it was a quote-unquote black film, and that was only for black people to go see. So you had to have more white people so that people would go see the movie that has a black lead with a black wife.
You know what the best part about that is? The studio is like, it might be too black. We need a white guy. Have the guy that steals the main character's wife be white.
And then you can tell when McFarland talks about it that he's not happy they did that, but he's trying to reconcile it, and it sounds like he's in denial, where he goes...
He's being Todd McFarland.
He goes, the really interesting thing about this relationship is that is that Terry is a white man, and he married a black woman, and I'm like, I don't know what's interesting about that, but okay, like.
If you're so interested in that, why don't you marry him, Todd?
We'll talk about this with Mystery Men. It was more unusual at that time in movies, obviously, especially compared to now, to see, like, interracial couples, I guess. That's another thing these movies have in common. They're late 90s movies with an interracial couple. They both have that.
Watch, we're going to find out that the shoveler was black in the comics.
Apparently... I'm getting ahead of myself for that movie, but I listened to that director commentary too, and the director says that he initially was supposed to be a black guy.
Oh, okay.
And they changed it partly just because he was a big fan of that actor, I guess. They saw black actors.
Oh, yeah. William H. Macy's the man.
And they didn't
I can't blame them.
End up going that way. Okay, so that we just talked over one of the most obligatory car chases in history, and I have questions about it too. As I said earlier, that scene. Oh, by the way, this is just the Axis chemical shot.
Yeah.
Right, like that's right out of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But
the best part of that about that truck chases, Cap.
Yeah.
Is that we needed Clown to be in the climax, so he needs to get away. So he just explodes and then he just like flies away.
He just flies off, yeah. But he was not. He was already nowhere around Spawn before that scene. Like, it's not like he had to escape through that scene. You could easily cut from that to the climax here, and you'd never know anything was missing because nothing is going on in that scene. Like, what is anyone after? What does anybody want? What are the stakes? What's the motivations? Like, how does it progress us from where Spawn was before to that? It's just he trains with Cagliostro, and then he goes on a motorcycle in a car chase that feels like it was set up ahead of time, like he knew he was going to go there and fight Clown in a car chase. It's the most kids playing with action figures seen in this movie and possibly in any movie. Think about it, Austin. It feels like a 90s action figure commercial replete with stuff that you wish came with the action figures that don't, that you can like knock over and spill stuff everywhere with. What is the necroplasmic goo? Why does he have it? Why are there barrels of it on Earth?
Yeah, no, it's so stupid. It's
do you know
it's both like the most toy thing and the most video gamey thing. 'Cause it's, you start to drive and here's the vehicle section and here's the boss.
I'm sorry, I was talking a long time and I don't mean to interrupt you, but you know what I want to do right now?
What's that?
I have this, only people that watch Spawn here will appreciate this, but I just have this urge to reach into the movie, steal Cyan's teddy bear, and stick it full of popsicle sticks.
Oh my god.
That's what I want to do right now.
That's horrific. I can't believe you just said that.
You watch Spawn here.
Yeah, I know. They should have had Danny DeVito play Billy Kincaid in this movie.
I forgot there was a teddy bear in this, and I kind of can't even believe it because it's about the right size. Like, it looks sort of like the Billy Kincaid teddy bear.
Imagine an ice that, you know what, that should have been the stinger at the end. Cyan and Wanda are waiting for an ice cream truck, and then Danny DeVito pops out and he's like, "I want some popsicle sticks."
Oh my god. The setup for the sequel is we're going to do a whole Billy Kincaid movie? Oh no. Yeah, well, that ain't going to be rated PG-13.
No, it would be PG-13. He would be a secret CIA agent.
He's not going to finger paint, I'll tell you that right now.
No. Well, no, he'll finger paint, but he'll do like happy like sunsets and stuff, and then he'll die in the first act, and then come back as a Spawn like Jessica Priest was supposed to.
So some of the special effects you can kind of see the mask in it,
mm-hmm.
And it's not as consistent as that. And that movie probably had more lead time and stuff. But some of the cartoony stuff that he does with his face, particularly the eyes and tongue popping out, which the mask did, looks quite a bit like that.
There's also like a lot of him quoting Looney Tunes for no reason.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that earlier because that's the thing where he's like, "Arise," and he hits him,
Oh,
"Arise,"
that's true.
hits him, and then he calls. I think Winnie calls him Maroon, and I think there's something
Oh
else.
yeah, and it's
There's
not
like
even a Warner's project.
yeah, I think there's like a few times where he's quoting Looney Tunes stuff, and it's not consistent enough to, I don't know, work. Like it's really weird.
I don't know what the point of that transition was.
I will never know.
Like Malbolgia just goes ha ha ha, and then we just jump back to Spawn. Okay. I don't know what that was. Like, there's no reason we shouldn't have just cut to Spawn walking to the house now.
He should have. They should have cut to him because it's Dr. Claw. He should have been like, "I'll get you this time, Spawn."
Look, it would have been smarter if Malbolgia was just a hand, so you didn't have to see his mouth not moving.
Oh yeah, no, that would have worked.
That would have been great.
Wow, what if what if that was the only inclusion of Malbolgia and Clown? It just cuts to him petting Clown every now and then.
That's so good. Let me read these super chats real quick, and then I'm going to ask you a question about Clown, because all I want to do is ask questions. Tom,
Yeah.
$2 super chat. Voodoo has the same cut as PG-13, but Amazon has it at R. Yeah, thanks, Tom. I knew that you could get the PG-13 one somewhere. Chewbacca's Lover, $5 super chat. Spawn is how I discovered Geekvolution. Oh, wow, thanks, man. That's crazy. I was watching HBO Spawn on YouTube, and Eric's review of the series was on related videos. Yeah, and he and I were doing the comics for a while. To Dan Schneider put in a $5 super chat. Nothing Clown does in the R-rated version is dirtier than what it's in the Austin Powers movies. Hell, the second film is quite a bit dirtier. And that's part of why I'm saying I wonder if it's subject matter related. Because I don't know how those movies got away with PG-13 with some of the stuff they cut out of this.
Austin Powers in the next movie.
Yes, I was thinking about that too.
But yeah, no, that is true. Yeah,
now,
I
again, to be fair,
maybe like it is like a weird hell thing.
That I'm telling you, I think it's just demonic imagery. I think that's all it is.
Yeah, so weird.
I do find myself wondering if this is the first PG-13 movie to include a man wearing a ball gag. I do wonder about that. I don't remember seeing that very much when I was a kid.
Oh, this is like every movie I watched as a kid.
Yeah, but they weren't PG-13.
They weren't R either.
Oh my god. Okay, can I ask you the question?
Yeah.
Here's my question about Clown in this scene, Austin.
Yeah.
Is he actually serious about wanting to I guess I'll use the word violate Wanda, and that's why he keeps her alive? Like, why not just let Wynn kill her, and then Spawn will be faster to kill Wynn? Why the ruse? Why pretend to be Wanda? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I guess he just does want to do that. I don't know.
And then this whole thing is super awkward because it's not what this ending was, and I don't know if we'll ever have the answer to this. I want to know what they thought they were shooting. Like, what was the ending?
Yeah, it sounds like if all the Malbolgia stuff wasn't in this, the original ending was just really small and just like 4 people in a room.
Yeah, I don't know if Violator, if somehow like Violator through the fireplace was maybe still in there, because there were still connections to hell. We just never went there. So it's possible somehow that was still there, but they wouldn't have been sucked into it. Like, I wonder, you're right, I wonder if it was smaller in that there was still a Violator fight in this room.
Maybe that was the sequel bait. Is come and get me. And he goes into the fireplace. He'll be back.
And then they cut the credits, and it's just the credits in front of fire again. That would have been great.
Yeah, and instead of Spawn falling down the fire tunnel, it's Violator, and he's laughing the whole time.
Sure.
Yeah.
That'd be great. But yeah, this is not a good reveal. Because
No.
I don't understand why he's even doing this.
What if he's just gonna kill Spawn? Like, why didn't he finish him off? Like, he put a knife in his throat and then walked away.
Yeah, well, and does that whole thing not kind of bug you? This idea that if you use up your power or if you get beheaded, even though you're dead, you can still die. What does it mean? I mean, because it happens to Clown, and he just goes back to hell. He could just come back next movie.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean? In the
I don't know.
comics, it's Malbolgia will fully own your soul, and you'll have no choice at all after that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is at least something. And
You
also,
go to the hell for hell.
and also, you can't, like, I don't know what the beheading nonsense is about. That's not comic book.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they're trying to create more of a weakness so that Spawn won't seem too, like, overpowered.
That's my favorite shot, by the way. Is
With the tongue?
No. Oh, I guess I'm still a little bit ahead of you. Is Cagliostro flying away like ah? That is my favorite shot in this entire movie. I wish he didn't come back after that. I wish that's just how he died.
Oh, you must be way ahead of me now.
Weird. Maybe it is a different cut and like it's just slightly off then.
Yeah. Well, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Bob the Hun, $5 super chat. The line about Satanists. No, I'm sorry. I just felt bad that I didn't check with you about it. The line about Satanists being, I don't even want to say the word, but yeah, I'm quoting a line, okay? It's retards. And God having all the good followers is clearly to pander to religious parents who think this might be demonic. I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, that line's also just funny because they are. But can you explain this to me, Cap?
No. I don't even know what it is. I'm sure I can't. Go ahead.
Why does Violator explode when he gets stabbed in the neck? He shrinks and then explodes. And then he just comes back 5 seconds later.
Can I counter your question with another question?
Yeah.
A, why does Spawn have so much more power than any of the other Hell Spawns in Hell and can zap them all with this green lightning all across them? B, why is he not worried about running out of power when he was told to be careful about that? C, why is the movie just ignore that was a rule that was set up? And D, when all of his energy is coming out at them, what is even really happening? Because a few of them, I think, kind of explode, but he doesn't destroy all of them. I think when I first reviewed it, I said he destroys all of them, but he doesn't actually. A lot of them are still standing there. And then he just shoots up back into the fireplace. Why couldn't he have done that in the first place? None of them are rushing him. They're not anywhere close to him. There's nothing stopping him from just leaving.
Well, when he's zapping them, why doesn't Malbolgia just crush them?
What do you mean, crush them?
Like smash Spawn and
crush Spawn? Yeah, I don't know. He's just standing there.
Yeah, he's just like, I'll get you next time.
Yeah, he could have been a big video game boss.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have the money or the time for that, Austin.
Well, it would be like if Rise of the Silver Surfer ended with Galactus showing up with billions of Silver Surfers, and Silver Surfer killed like 3 of them, and then Galactus left.
Wow, this is some PS1 stuff.
Yeah,
right here.
Bad, man.
No, you're right. He stabs Violator in the neck. And then he's leaking necroplasm, and then he just blows up.
But he's like shrinking too. It's really weird.
I didn't notice the shrinking. And he's made of the exact same thing Spawn is, but when he cut Spawn's neck, that didn't happen.
Spawn didn't explode.
No, he didn't even leak necroplasm. He's okay.
What is happening?
Yeah, so I'm watching the energy killing all the spawns, and or some of the spawns.
I'd never noticed that because I always remembered him killing all of them. Like until you just said it, and I was really focused on it. He kills like 20 of them, maybe. Like
yeah,
there's
and the other ones are also in the background. They're still yelling, they're jumping around, freaking out.
They're acting like all the gangs at the end of Ant-Man. Just like, yeah!
Oh, now they rush him as he's shooting up. He just did, Malbolgia. He just escaped you.
And when he shoots up, it's like the end of Transformers 4, where they're like, oh, this island's going to explode. And Optimus is like, get on my back, and then he just flies away.
I do like the cartoonishly large gun that Jason Wynn has.
Oh, yeah.
It's hilarious.
They do capture some of that image stuff of, like, the guns are all over the top in this.
And it is nice that they got, a real actor for that was hamming it up and having a good time. I mean, I wish there was more to his character and that he wasn't a complete idiot, but it's at least infectious watching him have fun with it.
Mm-hmm. No, he knows that he's in a cartoon.
Dupay's commentary makes it sound like he was a very green first-time director that didn't really know what he was doing, and he's like, it's kind of weird to be given this much money to make my first movie, but here I am. And like he'd done, I think music videos and stuff before this. I'm actually not sure.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's very music video directory
and edited.
Yeah,
certainly. But I bring that up because apparently Martin Sheen, being a consummate professional and just liking working on movies, went out of his way, according to Dupay anyway, constantly to like help him with stuff that went wrong when like things weren't working and they were having a hard time with scenes and stuff. Like, it sounds like Sheen did some heavy lifting on this movie, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was talking to Dan about this the other day, and I was like, if I were Martin Sheen, I would never do another comic book movie again. I'm shocked that happened.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
It didn't hurt his career or anything.
Yeah. No, it definitely didn't.
And it's weird because he is a like well-known actor, but this movie didn't really get a lot of... I don't remember people talking about Martin Sheen real hard, like with some of the other movies we've talked about, with the one big like well-known actor that validates the movie, and yet it did make money. But I don't think it was because it had credibility in Martin Sheen as the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think that really influenced anyone to watch this movie.
They also didn't sell it on him. I mean, they sold it as a special effects movie. I mean, it was a lot more about Spawn and Violator, the costumes,
mm-hmm.
and the special effects and stuff.
I mean, you gotta aim it at the image audience.
I always wanted this playset, and I never got it. There's a playset from this movie that's Violator coming out of the fireplace.
Yeah, and that shot's rough.
It's yeah.
And it's funny because the Violator part of it, I think, looks pretty good. It's the wall. Like, the wall looks really rough.
But then Violator's body and Clown's head on the floor, it looks worse.
Yeah, it absolutely does. But
there's some unfinished effects in this.
It was worth it just for the like porcupine hedgehog spawn where he grows spikes out of his head.
Yeah, Robert and Thomas Lowe are suggesting that Snyder might have been a good fit for Spawn right after 300. I think I agree with that. Especially if you give him the right script and he doesn't deviate from it much.
Yeah, possibly. Although now, because there was just talks that Snyder almost did a Rick and Morty movie. Now I just want that because that's baffling.
What?
Yeah, right?
That's wild. So where I'm at in the movie right now, I'm watching the Sam and Twitch moment, and that whole thing is sad because I just wish they were in this movie.
No, they look perfect. No, my movie just ended. So
it's also really weird to have a Spawn movie where the talking head, were one of the talking head news anchors from the 3-panel news pages. Mm-hmm. The really boring, long-winded, never-end news pages.
The Todd McFarland really thinks he's Frank Miller.
I know.
Panels.
It's so weird that she gets turned into a character in this, but Sam and Twitch have a cameo. Like, she's in 3 or 4 scenes. It's so weird. And they do a shot of one of the other ones, but not the Hollywood guy.
Yeah, it's the conspiracy guy.
Yeah, the conspiracy guy, but not the Hollywood guy. She's like the CNN one.
Yeah. And well, I think they specifically say CNN at one point.
Oh, that's weird, because in the comics,
unless it's in Mystery Men, and I'm conflating them.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't notice it if so, but in the comics, it's something else. It's something NN, I think, like we often do.
But I probably just heard NN and went, oh, CNN.
Yeah.
It was GNN.
So you don't think the cape ever works?
No, I don't think the cape looks very good at all.
Is it just the texture looks wrong? Like it doesn't look like fabric, or?
I don't know. It looks fake. Like it doesn't look like a cape.
I think it looks better in that last shot than anywhere, but
yeah. I mean, like you said, like I respect the attempt. It's just one of those things that I don't think looks very good.
I also think it's weird that at the end it's got a lot of black in it, like it's been charred or on fire or something.
Well, it is also weird that we like dulled out all of the red on his costume, but then he's got like a red cape.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Said it is a little weird that he's got a red cape, but we dulled out all of the red on his actual costume.
Yeah, that's true too.
Because like all the red here is more like grayed out.
Yeah, and that's probably part of why I don't care for the suit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
no, I don't like that aspect of it.
It's more of a texture issue, but why don't we have some color in it?
Mm-hmm.
And it feels, the scenes where we actually use the cape, regardless of the special effects, like they feel kind of obligatory, because it's like, well, we want to give that to the fans, but we don't really have the budget or the know-how to do it a lot. And so they came up with this idea that it like recedes into him and comes in and out. The comics don't do that until after this movie. That's another thing that it does from this.
Mm-hmm.
But like it always could have, because the mask does that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is that Venom thing where he gets the mask like a little bit, but it always peels back. But I think
Robert, none of the shots of the cape are ever practical.
And it's unfortunate because the poster with it looks really good.
Well, they built one,
mm-hmm.
and the director said that it looked good in still shots, but when they tried to move it around with wires, it looked goofy, so they couldn't really use it. And I'm like, but I don't know why he couldn't walk with it.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, it doesn't always have to be going like that. Like, do that for the big shots where he's like flying. Or
well, they might have been thinking
building.
It'd be too over the top to have the cape like in the comics go so wide and everywhere, but then have a finite length when he's walking around. But I'm like, that's an ability he has. He can extend the cape, so who cares?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's just a thing we all accept. Like, we accept that with like Dr. Octopus or something in the Spider-Man movies. His arms are constantly growing and shrinking.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I mean, people might have called foul on it if the movie sucks, and it did.
Yeah, that's true.
But like in a good movie that is especially like more stylized, like this movie should be more stylized, I think.
Yeah, well, and
I don't think people would care that much.
And he never really like owns the costume. You know, it
mm-hmm.
feels like such a and I mean, it should kind of be a burden, but what I mean is there's not any presence. And I think Michael Jai White does the best he can with the material, but like you want those shots, right, of him like looking kind of superior or intimidating, standing in front of like somebody pathetic and weaker than him with his arms crossed with the cape out, right? Like we never get that. That's what I
don't even know if he can do that, because every time we see him, he's very stiff. Like he's always like that.
Yeah, that's true, and not in like a cool Michael Keaton kind of way. Like he looks held back by it, and he's never able to own it. Mm-hmm. The HBO animated series is built entirely around those kinds of scenes.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, he's never like mysterious and in the shadows. He doesn't sneak up on anybody. He's not.
One, you don't necessarily have to do that. Like you could have done the Batman thing where he like creepily walks at you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're right. It wouldn't have to be just like that, but there's no mystery to him.
Mm-hmm. No, he's not a monster, which is what you want. You want him to be Dracula. Like you want him to move like that.
And in some ways, he's less pathetic than he is in the comics because he's not whining constantly, but he's also not given anything to say, really.
No, he's whining and moans instead of in dialogue when he's walking around going, "Ugh."
Yeah, he does a little bit of that.
He just needs to be like, "Oh, my wife."
And I mean, everything I'm talking about is stuff you could do in a sequel after an origin, and he could kind of learn to live with the fact that he's not Al Simmons anymore, and he has to be Spawn, and there's nothing he can do about it. And then, if you had a really good sequel to this movie, you could just kind of look at it like X-Men, where it's a throwaway origin, except it's not anything like as good as that movie. But it could have been like that.
Yeah. No, that is true.
I think these credits might get the... I mean, I don't know this for sure, but they might get the reward for least people that have ever actually sat with them and attempted to read any of the names, because they just jump around everywhere and move constantly and occasionally roll backwards for some reason. Right now, they're just doing this. Thomas Love just said he wants his life back. I don't know if he's ever seen this movie before. This week was definitely the worst viewing I've ever had of this.
It was rough. Like I said, I walked in going, this movie's pretty good. It's gonna be a Daredevil situation, right? Where I'm gonna go, it's dated and it's silly, but like I still get enjoyment out of it. No,
not really. It's
not really.
It's rough. I mean, like, what? You know, we were hard on it, but like, what are things you actually like in it?
I like Leguizamo, even though I don't necessarily like a lot of his material.
Yeah, that's number one for me.
I like Michael Sheen. I like Michael Jai White.
Oh, do you?
I like him okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't like love him or dislike him. Like I think he's pretty good in it.
He's trying.
Yeah. I mean, that's another case of just the material's bad.
But I kind of feel bad for him. Yeah. I like the Violator fight okay.
Oh, yeah. No,
I do.
That's pretty good.
It's definitely the best action scene in the movie. And it also doesn't feel like a throwaway action scene like the rest of it. Like, you've been kind of waiting for that to happen. And it doesn't really lead us anywhere. It doesn't really go anywhere besides just give us the reveal that hiding inside Clown is this big monster. But, like, it's something.
And I like when Cagliostro is like, ah! That's my favorite part of the movie, so I like that.
Real quick, another thing I was going to say earlier about Spawn's characterization, because with this in the comics and really with everything, like I said earlier, the hardest thing, and it's never really been done right, the hardest thing to make work is... that juxtaposition of Spawn is bad enough to be picked for hell, or Al Simmons is bad enough to be picked for hell, but we feel bad for him because he loses his family, and he's enough of a human being that all he wants is his wife back, and he makes that deal with the devil that any of us might in desperation to get back to our loved ones. Like, that's why we're supposed to care about that character. The reason that even though I don't usually like Amnesia, the reason the Amnesia plot has the potential to work okay in Spawn is because it's a character that's been reborn. So if you start with it, it isn't so much what I hate about Amnesia plots, which is we're having to learn who this person is as they're figuring it out, and often that's just an excuse to not actually draw a person. So, like, you're creating this, like, uninteresting mystery. As he's learning who he used to be, he could be appalled by it and decide that now, even though it might be too late, he wants to be a better person and he's reinventing himself. And that's how you make the Amnesia thing work, and you have a real line between Al Simmons, the super flawed and possibly terrible human being, and now Spawn. And I wish that they'd gone that way with it.
Yeah, definitely. Robert Wilde says this is a better movie than Steel, at least. Wrong.
Austin is entertained by Steel.
Steel is awesome. Steel is a hilarious movie. This movie's boring.
No, it really is. Because like, again, it doesn't feel long enough, but it also is wasting a lot of time all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that kind of weird? You know, where you got Clown just like rambling and saying unfunny jokes, and occasionally he'll say something amusing, but you're like, well, we could have used this to draw characters and give people dimension and stuff, and have a less cookie cutter story that doesn't have to dumb everybody down in order to give Hell, some kind of a motivation. And then we do the same thing with Cagliostro, where it's just platitude after platitude. And you're like, okay, I'm looking at my watch now, and it's only an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's bad.
Chewbacca's lover, if Jessica Priest became a Spawn, would it be any better? That is a good question. You'd probably have to look at less crappy CG at the end. I'll say that.
We talked earlier about what the original Climax was. I mean, that's probably just the big difference. Like, it's probably the two of them fighting in that room instead of Violator.
Yeah, but they never shot it.
No, I know, but I mean, like, oh, no, yeah, because you said...
but what I'm saying is they shot a
yeah.
Climax and then changed the...
Yeah,
and then added the stupid heart thing, so something else was in that scene. Mm-hmm. What was it? It wasn't her.
It was Angela.
They didn't shoot it. Yeah, Angela shows up at the end of the day. Yeah. She's the Deus Ex Machina.
Classic Marvel character Angela showed up. Like Flat Spawn.
Yeah, Thor's half-sister.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So it was a really weird crossover, but that's
yeah, I don't know how they got the rights to her, but it was weird.
Dan Schneider, would you stop it? $2 super chat. I think he's saying this because of the crazy show we had last night, maybe on the Captain Logan show, where we're talking about characters that are technically naked. If this was R, would Jessica Priest be nude? Or maybe he's asking legitimately, like, would there be a nude scene? If this is R, there's definitely a nude scene.
Was Spawn technically nude?
No. Because it is a costume covering up a necro body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it is like necro form larvaing or whatever.
Yeah, I mean the Spawn suit is like a symbiote, so it is not wearing clothes, but Spawn is wearing it. Mm-hmm. Do you see?
So it's naked in the same way Venom's naked.
So exactly. That's
okay.
What
I think Venom counts, so I think Spawn counts.
Right, but Eddie Brock is not naked.
No, but
and neither would Al Simmons' rotting corpse that is not his original rotting corpse. Is everybody following this? Everybody with me on this? One of the worst visual effects in the movie is the skeleton hand that comes up out of the grave. Oh my god, it doesn't look like it's there or was ever anywhere. Like, what is that?
Why is it not just like a prop hand that's like, argh? Because it's like directly a shot from Army of Darkness. Like, it's like almost the exact same shot where the skeleton arm...
Dan Schneider says he's not joking. Genuinely, do you think McFarland would go there? Well, the HBO series did. So yes, absolutely. But it would be... it probably wouldn't be Jessica Priest. I mean, it might be, but it's more likely it would be like a quick flash of Wanda in a sex scene or something.
Maybe they would go HBO series does that thing and have Jessica Priest like crying while having sex, like Chapel.
Oh, I forgot about that.
The real question is, if it were R-rated, would Clown be naked?
Violator is naked.
Violator is naked.
Violator is a naked character. I can't believe we're still having this conversation.
Because Violator is naked and he like shrinks down into a little clown. It's not like he puts on clothes. The clothes are just on him. Does that mean that he's technically naked, but his like flesh makes clothes?
We did not get very much this time in the way of tweet-length reviews, so I will read the couple that we got. Actually, for this, we only got one. Tom put in one, and another person put in one for Mystery Men, but not this movie. And quick plug, if you would like to leave tweet-length reviews, that is just a $5 tier on Patreon. The $10 tier makes you a Patreon producer, and you get lots of other perks in helping us out and interacting us with the show. But you can do this part of it just at the $5 tier. And Tom says, Todd McFarland, like myself, is visual style over substance and story. Okay, so he must love this. The majority of the problem with the Spawn movie, he doesn't, stems from that fact and the fact that he had poor prosthetics and horrible CGI. I don't agree with the prosthetics. I think the makeup's decent. That couldn't back his vision. I rate Spawn no higher than a villain. And with that, we'll go to Austin and let him start our ratings. I'm curious to see if this is going to be our first nemesis. Austin? Because I know there's no way Austin's going higher than a villain on this.
Okay, so it's out of 5, so Nemesis would be a 0 out of 5.
Yeah.
Or would it be 1?
It'd be like a 1. We basically have to think about it like we don't have a 0. So like Nemesis is rock bottom, and that's why I don't think about it in terms of numbers. It's just as low as you can go. Again, for everybody, especially if this is your first time here, Nemesis is rock bottom, and then above from that is villain, hero, superhero, legend. Oh, he's having a tough time with it. He's making slurping noises, folks. That's how difficult the choice is.
Okay, I'm going to go on the higher side of Nemesis then.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's tough for me, too, because I've never thought to go quite that low with this, but this is the worst viewing I've had of it. And it's just so... I didn't talk enough about structure. It's so chopped up. I mean, it really feels like they either...
One of the biggest issues.
It really feels like they either shot a bunch of random scenes with a real basic structure and just hoped that they would have enough to work with at the end, or they shot a different movie and we're seeing the remnants of that, and like 20 to 30 minutes were cut out of it. It's hard to say what exactly happened that made it this poorly structured, but like the scene lengths are insane.
Mm-hmm. No,
and there's just
rough.
There's just no connective tissue through so much of it, and it feels like, because you and I were talking off camera earlier, and you said I know I'm only halfway through this, but it feels like I'm already in the third act. Is it the kind of movie that skips a second act, or is it like, how do you look at it? Because it sort of has a first act, but I would almost make the case that the first act is like the first 5 to 7 minutes of the movie, right?
I also think you could say there's almost 2 first acts.
Okay.
And then the second act is like one scene.
Yeah. No, there's a couple of different ways to look at it, but like, you want to establish your status quo and then break it in your first act, and you could argue that happens in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're looking at it that way, then yeah. Your first act's like 5 minutes.
You went high Nemesis. I think I want to go low villain, but I find myself going, okay, is there, like, how much really awful superhero stuff am I going to find myself filing in Nemesis? And some titles are coming to mind of things that I would still put even lower than this. Because it does have a couple of like visually redeeming things, and there's good casting.
Yeah, you got like Elektra and stuff is below this.
Something else that I was shocked to find that I didn't know about this movie, Austin, is the composer is the same guy who did The Crow.
Oh, okay.
And the soundtrack's not very good.
Yeah, I don't remember a single thing about the soundtrack outside of like the metal music they play here and there.
Yeah, because this song or this movie had an album, and they used quite a bit of the music from the album in it. Like I think the Marilyn Manson song is featured in a scene somewhere, but there are a few places where it's just kind of generic guitar music that the Crow guy does.
Oh, okay.
Kando Tor says Catwoman. Yeah, that would probably be one of those that I would have to rank a little lower than this.
And I've still not seen that, so...
This is probably more entertaining than that. But I'm hesitating. There's a part of me that wants to go full Nemesis with this. But I think I'm gonna go to the villain side. I'm
Now
gonna be
that I've said
nicer.
Nemesis, I have no hesitation.
You have no hesitation.
No, this movie
That's
sucks.
that's totally fair. I don't know if I feel right about it, honestly, because it feels unfinished, and what's there is not good.
Yeah.
But read like 35 Spawn comics and then watch this and get back to me and see how you feel about it. Because write about 35 Spawn comics and then no more than that. I think I did this for day 100 maybe. I think I must have done
do it for day 100.
96 or 97.
Or was it like?
No. 50's the board game.
Yeah,
or
50, but
60
you're right.
is.
50's the board game. So yeah, I think the movie is 100.
Yeah. All right, well, folks, thanks a lot for watching. We sure appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it. Austin and I are going to take a break, 10 or 15 minutes, and then we're going to come back and we're going to watch Mystery Men for anybody that wants to stick around. That's going to be a separate stream that is already set up if you're watching live. So jump over there and get comfy, get ready for it. This next movie is longer. It's a couple hours, but I think it's safe to say that it's at least a little better and will be more fun to talk about.
Well, you know what we're about to do.
Uh-oh.
We're about to go for the moon.
We'll see you again real soon. Thanks for watching. Some of you guys really soon. Thanks for being here. I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin, the Day Ghost.
Bye, everybody.
See you, folks.